Chapter 28. U memorized the guardian promise, Master Cassiel, as he settled himself on top of his desk in aura interpretation class. Promise? I furrowed my brow. I think I'm missing something. You are, he said. We worked on this while you were on Earth. Can anyone elucidate, Jez? The guardian promise is what we have to recite during the progression ceremony when we get our white wings, Israfil said. Oh, I remember it now, I nodded, recalling the words every angel had said. I've got it memorized, Arella said. Me too, Danielle said. Good, keep it in the forefront of your minds always to remind yourselves why you're ministering among mortals. Jez, I'll send it to you to study. He tapped a few things on his tablet and mine chimed. All right, class, today we're going to continue our study of aura interpretation, he said, and he hopped off his desk. I searched for a notebook before remembering I wasn't on Earth anymore. We took notes in our tablets unless instructed otherwise. I opened my agenda and saw a paragraph in bold on the screen. The guardian promise. I promise that I will bless and minister to the soul that will be entrusted to me with compassion. The Father is merciful beyond measure, and I will be an emissary of his mercy. I read through it before switching to the correct screen. When you see an aura on another angel, how many colors do you perceive? 2 or 3, Dara said. Good, but did you know if you were on Earth, you would see much more than that? I nodded as I took notes. The complexity of human emotions had shocked me. Right, Jez? Cassiel said, drawing my eyes to the front of the class. Since you just got back from Earth, do you recall how the auras looked on the mortals around you? At least 4 at once, I said, usually more, like 5 or 6? That's right. Now there are only so many colors on the spectrum, but there are hundreds of emotions, so you have to learn to read the colors as if they were a book. Cassiel turned around and drew on the board. There are 3 layers to an aura. When you're reading an aura, the first thing you'll notice is a dominate color. This dominate color will affect the mood and hue of the other colors. It's a shade ranging from black to white, and it lets you know the strongest emotion the person is feeling. He stepped back from the board, revealing a stickman. Around the stickman, he'd drawn a fuzzy outline. This foundational aura will cling to the body of the angel or human, giving an appearance of a second skin. You're so used to seeing this on each other that you don't notice anymore, and sometimes it's hard to see because of the other colors. He looked around the room. Arella, could you come up here, please? Arella glanced around the room as if expecting someone else with her name to pop up, and then she pushed away from her desk and went to the front. Cassiel placed his hands on her shoulders. What color is Arella's foundational aura? At first I couldn't see it. Light pink and vibrant yellow danced around her, and then I realized they were light because of the color beneath them. White, Daniel said, beating me to it. White. Cassiel wrote that on the board. Thank you. Arella, you may sit. She nodded and went back to her desk, her face pink. White, by itself, is a state of perfection, Cassiel said. A perfect balance of moods and emotions. It's a Zen state with neither good nor bad. He faced us again. Have you ever felt this way? During Shmosh, I said without thinking, and then my face warmed. Maybe it was only me. The other angels might enter into the said Zen state multiple times a day. But they nodded and agreed with me. Shema, Cassiel nodded. That's a perfect example. Shema is the one time each day when the light from Shemayim descends to Arcadia, and we have the opportunity to elevate our feelings and emotions. It's a moment of cleansing and worship and deep introspection. However, as with all our experiences, we aren't meant to stay in that state of peace. Emotions and passions and feelings are part of what give us such joy in existence. So while your aura might reflect nothing but white while you're at Shema, shortly after you step out, it changes. Of course, the color might not always be white, and it's important to understand the indications of that first layer. The lighter the color, the healthier it is, and it clings to the soul like a barrier, the first defense against evil, hurt feelings, and terror. When someone gets sick, gives into temptation, or feels extreme hurt and despair in their soul, the color darkens, going all the way from gray to black. These are unhealthy colors, and one of the easiest ways for us empatias to know someone needs help. My thoughts flew first to Logan, and then Carubial. Both of them had that stain of gray around them, their core selves. My stomach nodded. We'll get back to that in a moment. Let's talk about the next layer. The second layer extends from the body by a few inches. Master Cassiel drew another layer around his stick person, this one wider and more misshapen. Within this second layer, there can be as many as 5 other sub-layers, but we'll discuss that another day. This is where you'll see the most vibrant colors, and they'll be tainted by the first layer. They also won't be equal. Some will be stronger than others, and they are in a state of constant flux. When you see these colors on each other, how are they acting? Sometimes they seem to swirl around, Iblis said, like Play-Doh colors that have been rolled together. Cassiel wrote that on the board, swirling colors, how else? Spiking, I said, reaching out like tentacles. Nice. Spiking, he wrote that also, how else? Like stardust, Vanina said. Very good. Cassiel wrote that and then sat on his desk facing us. Now, here's the thing. Each one of you will look at an object and see the second layer differently, even with different colors, but you will most often correctly interpret the meaning of the colors, coming to the same conclusion. You mean there's not a nice little chart to follow that says what each color means? Israfil said. Cassiel shook his head. You'll learn general emotion/color correspondences in this class, but when it comes down to it, interpreting auras is a trained art. Not only do you have to see the colors, you have to feel the emotions. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes, until one glance at a person and you know how they are feeling. This is why people often assume angels can read minds. Didn't you say there's a third aura? Dara asked. Yes. Cassiel stood and drew another line around his stick person. This one was much bigger, extending up and outward from the little figure almost to the edge of the board. The third layer of an aura is the largest. It's nearly translucent and usually not noticed, especially here in Arcadia. It only exists on mortal creatures. It's a more permanent aura representing someone's mental health and perspective of the world around them, and ranges only on the black to white color scheme. As someone ages, the closer they get to death, the smaller this aura becomes, until it merges with the second layer when mortality comes to an end. The first 2 layers remain with the spirit, which is why we can see them on each other here, in Arcadia. I wrote his words down as fast as I could, eager to apply my learning the next time I went to Earth. Here's your homework. I want you to analyze your own aura. I looked up at him, surprised. We can see our own auras? Daniel asked. How? You can't. You're going to need the help of your roommate. Ask your roommate to tell you what colors they see without giving any interpretation. Then you sit down and study aura colors and meanings to decipher what they saw. You'll have insider information to what these colors mean. That brought a chuckle. I want a thorough analysis of your aura and your feelings and how you came to that conclusion. Don't just tell me, oh, my aura was yellow and I felt happy, so I must have been dreaming about pizza. That brought more laughter, and I smiled. Vemas, can't we see your aura? Jeremiel asked. One of the things you'll be learning in your upper class studies is how to conceal your aura. Isn't that deceitful? Vanina asked. Like you don't want people to know what you're feeling? You should be allowed to choose what people see and what they don't. You can't fake an aura, you can only conceal one. That's your prerogative. You will also learn how to turn on and off your ability to see another person's aura. Sometimes you just don't want to know what someone is feeling. Vanina nodded and Cassiel waited to see if anyone else had a question. Then he pushed off the desk and clapped his hands together. Wonderful, can't wait to see what you come up with. Class dismissed. Well, Rumi, Iblis said, coming up to me and plucking at my feathers. Shall we analyze each other's auras tonight? That sounds like a plan to me, I said. Yes. We had flying class next. This was one I hadn't been able to make up since it was practical application. I watched in apprehension as Master Sabriel guided my classmates through a wing rotation exercise. You can do this too, she said when she passed me. Out of practice, I haven't used my wings at all on Earth. You should. Keep them fluid and moving, even if you can't fly. I'll give you exercises you can do the next time you go. Sabriel turned around to face my classmates. Are you warmed up? She asked. Yes, they called back, and the excitement was palpable in the air. Get into lift-off positions. My dormmates crouched, knees forward and bottoms back, elbows bent at the waist. I mimicked them, keeping my eyes forward but checking out their positions in my peripheral vision. Flap your wings, starting slow at first and gaining momentum. You'll start to feel the pull from your wings. Go on, wings, flap, I told them as I watched everyone else open and close their wings, slowly, slowly, and then faster. My wings fluttered a little bit and then lay still, as if mocking me. In this next moment, some of you will get liftoff and some of you won't. Either one is okay. We'll practice this move for the rest of the class period. Get your wings going as fast as you can, and then push off your legs and jump. I ground my teeth together and urged my wings to pump fast. What the sky, I didn't even care if they pumped slow. They didn't pump, they acted like daisies blowing in the breeze. Cries of triumph filled the air as angel after angel took off, managing to get at least a little bit of air before the forward momentum ceased and they tumbled to the grass. Take a break if your wings get tired, Master Sabriel said, walking among the angels, and then do it again, and again, and again. She paused beside me where I remained crouched, elbows back, my wings falling open like a sleepy moth. You can take a break, don't wear your wings out. They're not worn out, I growled. They haven't done anything. I shook my mental fist at them. Sabriel pressed her lips together, fighting back a smile. You have to remember, Jez, your classmates have at least a year on you as far as wing control goes. They've been practicing much longer than you. Cut yourself some slack. I straightened up because my thighs were starting to burn. I thought celestial bodies didn't get tired. But would you think that? Stand here a bit and reconnect with your wings. Find their energy and get your rhythm back. She spoke as if these wings had a mind of their own. I sent my energy out, seeking the river of light that pulsed around my shoulder blades. It connected with me easily enough, letting my soul energy merge with its own. I took a hold of the river and brought it toward me, clutching it like a rubber band. Let's work together, I told my wings, and they seemed to agree with me. I flapped one at a time, very slowly. Then I tried to get both of them to flap at the same time. They didn't like that. By the end of the class, I was able to get one wing flapping very fast, but the moment I tried to get both of them going, all motion stopped. Master Sabriel stopped me before I left, after class ended. You have to keep practicing when you're on Earth. If you were here at the academy, you would use your wings without thinking because they're so much a part of you. But on Earth, you forget them. No one can see them, and they are useless appendages. Don't neglect them. Do these exercises every day, and I promise they will start to respond to you. I nodded, seeing the wisdom in her words, but discouraged all the same. She started as if to pat my shoulder, then changed trajectory and patted my wing. You will fly one day. By the end of the day, my ego felt bruised and beaten. I was behind in every class, despite the work I'd done the day before, and I'd only gone to half my classes. We'll get caught up again, I told myself as I settled down at a table in the library after Shema. It's going to be okay. A few students glanced at me but turned back to their studies, not about to be distracted by an angel talking to herself. I dove into my biology assignment first, studying the evolution of life on Earth. I was pleased to see I'd picked up a few things from my biology class in high school. Knowledge is the only thing we take with us when we die, I murmured, remembering Malik's words. I made the visual chart Master Salafiel had requested, showing the change of primordial, one-celled organisms to the more complex organisms. Of course, she required far more details. We were supposed to include the spiritual evolution as well, from the non-sentient life forms to the life forms of higher intelligence. Other students had been working on their chart for weeks. I had 2 days. I needed a break. The ladder at the end of the library called to me, beckoned me. I stood up and went to the back, then started the ascent up the tower. Malik might not be here, but somehow I felt closer to him when I was up there, remembering the first moments that I realized I cared for him. There was never anyone else up here except when we did astronomy class, which was not tonight. I stepped over the flooring that appeared as if there were nothing beneath me, giving a clear view to the grounds below. I reached the edge and looked out into the starry sky, out to the planets in the distance. A light rain fell, as here in Arcadia, the brutal edge of winter started to recede into the softer embrace of spring. I took a deep breath and summoned my energy up to my fingers, then faced my palms against each other and spread them, concentrating on opening a window. I closed my eyes and remembered the feeling of Malik's lips on mine, the heat as his light poured into me. My body quivered at the memory, and it felt as if my soul opened in expectation, ready to receive that light again. I opened my eyes and was not surprised to see a window opening before me. Rainwater trickled down my face, but I didn't dare move my hands to brush it aside. It was evening on Earth, and Malik was in a city I didn't recognize, trailing an older woman with short gray hair through a dark parking lot. Men lurked in the shadows of the parking lot, and Malik's eyes fell on them, though the woman seemed oblivious. She hummed a little as she fished her car keys from her purse, and the tune carried upward to my ears. I smiled. I'd succeeded in adding sound to my viewing. One man stepped out of the shadows and Malik leveled his gaze on him. His light spilled outward, stopping at the man's feet. The man hesitated, confusion on his face as he pressed a hand to the base of his neck. The woman got into her car and locked the door behind her, none the wiser to the presence of her guardian angel. Malik's light receded, though he eyed the man a moment more, and I could see the anger in his aura, but it was a righteous anger, a holy anger against the wicked deprivations of man, and my heart swelled because I what? My thoughts stopped abruptly, running into empty space as if my mind simply ceased. I didn't know what I'd been thinking. Malik turned to go, his white wings magnificent on his heavenly body. "Malik," I said, pulling one hand away to touch my lips. He paused mid-motion and then swiveled around, his eyes sweeping over the parking lot, then over to the wooden fence behind the concrete slab, and back over to the dark store near the street. "Looking?" My stomach did a little flip. Was he looking for me? It wasn't possible he heard me. Barakiel said the conduits only worked one way, but still, just in case. I leaned closer to the window as if that would make a difference, and I whispered, "Malik?" "Jez," he answered, and I heard him as clearly as if he were right beside me. I pressed my hands to my mouth, astonished. The window flickered but didn't close. "Jez, where are you?" he asked, his voice tense with concern. "I can't see you." "I'm at the academy," I said, a laugh bubbling up in my throat. "I just wanted to see you. I didn't think you'd be able to hear me." He paused with his head tilted and then looked skyward, giving me a better view of his chiseled jaw and light brown hair. "You opened a window?" Weariness pulled at my mind, sucking at my energy. The edges of the window wavered, and I concentrated harder, willing it to stay open. "Yes." He shook his head. "It can't be. You shouldn't be able to talk to me. Do you think maybe I accidentally opened a portal?" "We can't open a portal unless we synergize. Is someone with you?" I shook my head. "No, I'm by myself." "No. Is it then?" He paused, considering. "Try to send something through." I suddenly felt too exhausted to think of something to send him. "Like what? One of my shoes? I don't have anything." "A feather," he said. "Send me one of your feathers." The window shuddered and began to close in on itself. "It's closing, Malik," I said, and my eyelids burned with a need to sleep like I'd never felt before. But before it closed, I yanked a feather and threw it at the window. It floated, almost drifting by, until I used the last of my energy to create a wind current and direct it at the window. It disappeared inside just as the window shut, and I lay down on the translucent ground of the tower, closed my eyes, and went to sleep. Chapter 22. I opened my eyes to a steady beeping near my ear. Directly level with my eyes, I spotted the sun cresting over the trees and climbing into the sky. My hair was damp, my wings heavy behind me. Where was I? I straightened up and yawned and then realized I'd fallen asleep on top of the tower. After I opened a portal to the earth. My energy pulsed and worry flickered through me. Would I be in trouble for that? I hadn't meant to. How was it possible? Elder Master Barakiel said only archangels could open a portal by themselves, and I was not one. The beeping continued and I realized it was my agenda stuffed into the school bag I'd carried up to the tower. I pulled it out and checked the message. Multiple messages, all from Bliss, all within the past 20 minutes, all quite concerned when she woke up and realized I wasn't in my bed. "I'm all right," I texted back. "I'm at the library." "Oh, thank goodness," came her immediate response. But why so early? Weren't you there late last night also? Studying hard, I replied, heading for the door to exit the tower. I'll meet you at breakfast. If anyone noticed my clothing was rumpled and damp from last night's rain, and my hair windblown, no one said a word. I tried to stay awake and wait for you, Iblis said. I wanted to work on our aura assignment, but I fell asleep. Sorry, I said, chagrined as I munched on a piece of apple. I also had a bowl of oatmeal, which reminded me of grits. I wondered who decided the menu and if I could ask for anything specific. We'll do it tonight, I promise. We've got weapons class this morning, Jeremiel said, giving me a knowing look. We're working with daggers, you ready? My face warmed and I looked away in shame. He'd been there when I'd stolen the dagger. He'd covered for me. Master Ingram won't let me train with one. I may as well bring along a plastic fork. Iblis laughed and offered me the one she'd used to cut up her pancakes. This is close enough, right? I shook my head and tapped the utensil. This is some kind of metal alloy. I might be able to use it against her. We had a good laugh at Master Ingram's expense, which left me feeling guiltily satisfied. Even worse was when she spotted me the moment we walked into class and her pretty face transformed into a scowl. You're back, she said with disdain. You never wanted me to go anyway, I said. I can see you picked up the nasty habit of sarcasm while on Earth. Mortal teenagers are such lovely creatures. I didn't bother responding. She pulled the others over to the wall and let them retrieve their daggers. Then they lined up to practice knife throwing. My classmates' aims were improving, at least. Master Ingram approached me where I sat on the windowsill. May I at least get a saber? I asked politely. Or a throwing star? No, you need to figure out how to get that chain off your arm and into your hand. I sighed. She shrugged. That's the weapon you're allowed. Elder Master Barakiel said I could train with the saber, practice my bow skills. But we're not using either of those today, she said, and it seemed she gloated, as if she enjoyed holding me back. Fine, let's focus on the chains. I did need to figure it out. I had used the chains so easily in Sheol, but since returning to Arcadia, they refused to come off. Don't you have any ideas? I said, my frustration growing. You're the weapons master, surely you have some inkling on how to reanimate a tattoo. She smirked. We avoid tattoos in heaven. Now I know why. You never know when one might turn against you. She wouldn't be of any help. You know, Elder Master Barakiel told me I have a hard time controlling my passions because I've never been born. And then he said going to Earth probably didn't help because it exposed me to unbridled emotions, and as an empathia, I could feel them twice as strong, once for the human and once for me. At least he's aware of your lack of self-control. I lifted my eyes and said coolly, what I can't figure out is what your excuse is. My excuse? Or your lack of self-control? Her eyes went wide and her nostrils flared. I have not ever in my entire existence given an inch of room to the dark side. I've rooted evil out of my soul with ruthless abandon and destroyed it. And I was rewarded with a teaching position at Guardian Angel Academy, the most prestigious of all the Father's academies. Never did I expect to find one of Hassatan's servants laboring within my school. I certainly never expected the spawn of Hassatan himself to be in my weapons class, expecting to be taught in the way of war. You are everything I thought you would be. You are everything I warned Barakiel about. But because the Father allows us to dig our own graves with our vile actions, you are allowed to stay. She leaned toward me. That does not mean I, on any count, need to feel obligated to welcome you or wash your feet with my tears. You are a thorn in my side, and I will do my best to keep you apart from everything good here at the Academy until you give in to your darker side and are forced back to Sheol." She finished her tirade but kept her eyes leveled on me for another moment before spinning away. I stood there, heart racing, although I felt such a mix of anger and fear and indignation that for a moment I felt like a human. "Jez?" I turned my eyes to the side and saw Jeremiel, a look of caution on his face as he approached me. I must have looked like a feral animal. "Are you all right?" I pushed away from the windowsill. "She hates me." Jeremiel narrowed his eyes. "Who?" "I'm great." "Master Ingram?" He looked skeptical. "I thought angels didn't feel those emotions." "Apparently they decide when it's okay to feel them and when it's not okay." He furrowed his brow. "I don't understand." "It's fine. He didn't need to understand. And I didn't need Master Ingram. I'll figure this out on my own. The library would have something for me." "Do you need a dagger?" Jeremiel asked. "No." I shook my head. "I gave mine away, and that's my fault. What I mean is," he lowered his voice, "I could try to sneak one for you." "What would I do with it?" I said with a sigh. "Master Ingram won't let me train with anyone. It's best if I stay quiet and out of sight. Maybe she'll forget about me." "If you change your mind, I'm sure we could come up with something." "Thanks, Jerathmiel." I spent the rest of class time on the windowsill looking up books in the library from my agenda while spying on my classmates as they threw daggers or participated in hand-to-hand combat. The suspicion grew stronger in my chest that the training we did here was for more than just being a guardian angel. We were still working on windows in synergy class, but I didn't dare open one to Malik in front of everyone else. What if he could hear me again? So instead I opened one to Christine. Christine was on her exercise bike in her home in New Orleans. The TV blared in front of her, but she sang along to a song on her headphones. Her legs pumped up and down and her body swayed with the bike, and I smiled, remembering the brief time we'd spent together. I opened one to Logan next. He would be at school. It was between classes and he was outside the building, standing in the shadows and talking to a kid I recognized from Alexander's group. It took a moment to remember his name, but then I did. Liam. Both of them were wreathed in the black shadows of the Temptar, and my heart raced. Where was Malik? He should be there to stop this. Logan pulled a wad of bills from his pocket and stuck them in Liam's hand. "Here, I did it." Liam, in return, slipped something to Logan. "Bring back that much twice again and you're in." The Temptar grew more solid as they murmured and hissed into Logan's ear, curled around his neck. I could make out 3 distinct shapes now. "I'll do it." Logan slipped the item into his pants and went back into the school, glancing around him first. The Temptare breathed him in, stuffing their long fingers into his pockets and embracing him from behind. Logan walked to his locker and considered something for a long moment. Then he turned around and went into the bathroom, the Temptare clinging to him. I didn't follow him in there. "Your window looks good. I can see you found the willpower." I turned to Barakiel as he approached. "Elder Master Barakiel, Logan?" I gestured at the window. "Where is Malik? Logan needs help. He's getting into worse trouble." Barakiel's smile was tinged with sadness. "Logan is reaching the point where Malik can't help him. The decisions he's making are putting him on a permanent path, and we cannot alter that." "But it's not too late," I said. "I've been there. I've talked to him. He's a good person, and he's just a kid. I know I can make a difference." It's true that as a peer, you could have a bigger influence than a guardian angel. But at some point, Logan must not only stand on his own 2 feet, but also be accountable for his choices. "But that time is not yet," I said. "Let me try a little longer." Barakiel nodded, his smile broadening. "You speak like a guardian." "I do? What did that mean?" "Guardians are much more than protectors and helpers, Jez. A true guardian advocates for their assignment, slips into the role of mercy, acting as a messenger for the first emissary and accomplishing what he would if he were present. I will speak to Michael. We will decide when is the best time to send you back." "Thank you. I itched to go back right now, but that was not in the plan, so I forced myself to be patient." It wasn't until Barakiel had walked away that I remembered I wanted to ask him about last night. I would just have to wait. I didn't try to watch Malik or Logan again. I understood why first years were not allowed to view their families at will. It was somewhat addicting, being able to watch those you cared about, but it was also worrisome, mentally consuming, and entirely unnecessary. No amount of windows would change what was happening on Earth, so I opted not to look. Iblis blew into the room after Shema a few nights later and dropped several heavy books on my desk. "Our aura assignment is due tomorrow and you haven't told me what mine looks like," she said. I'd been swamped in catch-up work for the past week, not to mention my own prescribed assignments. I scanned the titles of her books: Auras Throughout the Dispensations, Reading the Chakra, Spirits and Their Colors. I looked up at her. "Looks like you're ready." "And what are you reading?" She snatched my book from the desk. "The Chains That Bind Them" sounds rather morbid. I extended a hand. "Can I have my morbid book back, please?" "Fine." She sat across from me and spread her wings, which whooshed into the air and brushed the wall on one side and the head of my bed on the other. "What do you see?" I faced her and squinted. "If I don't see anything, do you get a bad grade?" "Come on, Jez," she rolled her eyes. "I know you can see." She was so easy. I opened my morbid book, scanning the pages for mentions of breaking chains. White is the dominate color, then green and purple. She scribbled down what I said. "How do the green and purple look?" I looked at her again. "The green is smooth like a river, a current around you. The purple is more excited, kind of leaping around and weaving in and out." She nodded, her lips curving up as she wrote, her wings folded into herself. "Your turn." She put the pen down and looked at me. I didn't want to know. "Ready, you have to write down what I say." She was going to make me do this. I opened my agenda. What if she saw only negativity on me? "Spread your wings. It makes it easier for me to see." I obliged, stretching the black feathers from one side of the room to the other. They sighed in happiness at being open, and a rush of energy flowed from them to me. "You have a light gray undertone, then there's bright yellow and deep blue." "What are the colors doing?" I asked, repeating her question. "They're twisted around each other, spinning over and over again, rolling around you." I was interested in spite of myself. "What does it mean?" She pulled a book out of her stack and handed it to me. "That's your job to find out." I accepted it and opened a new screen on my tablet, then began analyzing my aura. The book Iblis had given me was straightforward and to the point. I was disappointed to learn that my light gray aura represented a struggling spirit, attempting to find happiness but falling short of it. "I'm sure it's better than it was last year," I told myself. Yellow could mean 20 different things, depending on the shade. Iblis called it bright, which narrowed it down to fear. How enlightening. What was I so afraid of that it made my aura yellow? I moved on to the next color, deep blue. Blue could mean anything, from having good intuition to being moody, but since Iblis also said it was deep, the emotions merged closer to the purple line and expressed things such as sensitivity, spirituality, and deep inner knowledge. I liked that description a lot more. So now I had to take an honest look at myself. What was I afraid of? Loss, rejection, failure. Well, heaven's throne, that was a lot of stuff. Could I be considered a spiritual being, someone with deep inner knowing? Yes, I nodded as the moment of clarity hit me. I had knowledge others didn't. I'd experienced things no one else had, and that was something I'd been ashamed of. I almost laughed. I didn't need to be ashamed of it. What I had learned could benefit not just myself, but those around me. My knowledge could help people. I began the analysis of my aura, writing what Iblis had seen, my interpretation of it, and my sudden epiphany. "What did you come up with?" Iblis asked. I scanned my essay and summarized my findings. My spirit is still struggling to embrace the light, and I have a lot of fears, but I also have a deep spiritual knowledge and a wisdom born of negative experiences. While not yet balanced, the spiritual side outweighs the fearful side. "That's pretty cool," Iblis held hers up. "So I'm a being of light, I'm generous, and I have a spiritual awareness for people around me. I think that sums you up." Wow, now I can't wait to start analyzing other people. I groaned, and I can't wait to learn how to hide my aura. Ugh. Only a few more days passed at the academy before I received a message from Barakiel. It's time, meet at my office. I was in creation class where we were learning how to create emotion through writing, something Master Sabril called poetry. When Barakiel's message came through, I jumped at the opportunity to leave. I stopped long enough to say goodbye to my growing plants, and then I hurried to his office. Are you ready? Barakiel asked when I entered. I nodded. I'm going back to the same place, right? Yes, we have a nice setup with the Maddox family, and there's no reason to change it. How long have I been gone? A few weeks. Since your mother is supposed to be homeschooling you on Earth, the school is being more lenient on your education. You will be back and forth a lot. Okay, I nodded. Let's do this. Barakiel opened the portal, which of course reminded me that I'd never talked to him about that window I'd opened. Go on, he said, gesturing me forward. I stepped through, I'd tell him the next time we were alone. Then we were standing in Crescent Park, the sun already going down over the river. Spring comes early to this part of the country, Barakiel said. Soon the sun will stay out later. I admired the colors, wondering how I could ever create anything so beautiful. Jez, Barakiel said, and I turned to face him. Continue your work with Logan, but don't get too involved, and remember to see the needs of other humans around you and minister to them too. I go well. Recognize the light you have, Jez Batasat, you are so much stronger than you know. He strolled down the sidewalk, leaving me to catch up. How can I keep myself safe from Temptera? I asked. Practice charity for others, keep your thoughts uplifted, be aware. We turned the corner and I saw the familiar brick house up ahead. I quickened my pace. Whole more thing, Jez, you won't see as much of Malik for a bit. Buzz, I spun around. I thought that was part of the deal. He's here to keep an eye on me, to be my guardian also. Timing. Malik needed to return to the academy. Archangel Michael thought this would be a good time for you to return to Earth, to watch over the boy in Malik's stead. Fear drummed through me again, that ever-present bright yellow monster that I was super aware of now. What if I need him? Is GM Raphael will check in on you and Logan from time to time. You shouldn't need Malik. Anything that happens, you can tell Raphael. Will he be back? And I'm sure. I didn't like this at all. I'd expected, the whole time I was at the academy, that I would be with Malik as soon as I got back to Earth. Do you wish to return to the academy? Barakiel asked, studying my face. He paused in front of the Maddox front door. Was he reading my aura? No, but... I sighed. I didn't think I'd be alone. I want to help Logan. No one is ever alone. Barakiel waited another moment, but when I didn't say anything else, he stepped to the door and knocked on it. Christine opened it half a second later and she let out a happy cry before throwing her arms around my neck. I smiled, enjoying the touch, even if all I could do was imagine it. You're back. She pulled me into the house, glancing over me. You look great, really well. Were things all right with your mom? I nodded. I missed you though. I wanted to come back. Well, we're so glad you're here. She looked at Barakiel. Thanks for calling to let us know. We were wondering. Can I get you anything to drink before you go, Mr. Glover? No, thank you, Mrs. Maddox. It's still all right for Jessica to stay here? Of course, we're happy to have her. I'll be on my way then, he faced me. Good luck, Jessica. Mrs. Maddox has my number if you need anything. Remember to say your prayers. My prayers. My direct line of communication into heaven. I will. We're so excited you're back, Christine said as soon as he left. Matt stopped at the store to buy shrimp so we could make shrimp and grits. Does that sound all right? I relaxed back into the setting of my temporary Earth home. That sounds wonderful. I was determined to pull Logan away from Dee Dee by becoming the better friend. According to Christine's books, that meant I had to impress him. I didn't know what clothing would impress, so I took a clothing catalog up to my room to pick out my outfit for Monday. Except I didn't have any clothes like these. I had a pair of jeans, but when I tried them on, they didn't look the same as the ones in the picture. They sat too high on my hips and didn't cling to me the same way. The girl in the picture also wore a sleeveless, button-up blouse. I had nothing like that. I tried on each of my shirts, and one of them fit me almost as snugly as the blouse in the photo. It also exposed my chain tattoos, winding around my arms. I fingered them in the mirror. Maybe the humans wouldn't see them, just as they couldn't see my wings. It would have to do. The catalog included an array of makeup art with before and after pictures. This I knew I didn't have. Christine? I headed down the stairs. She was already in a nightgown in her room, and she came out to the hallway to intercept me. What is it, Jessica? She didn't glance at my arms, and my confidence grew. The chains must not be visible. Do you have any makeup? Of course I do. She disappeared back into her room. I stayed in the hallway, unsure if I should follow. She came back with a plastic bag. I don't use these anymore. There's some eyeshadow, lip gloss, blush, even some foundation, though I think my skin's too light for yours. Is there anything else you need? I opened the bag and peered in on the objects, then looked back at her. How do I use this? She pressed a hand to her chest as if she couldn't believe what I'd just asked. Let's go upstairs to your bathroom. 20 minutes later, I knew how the items worked, and I had Christine's makeup motto drilled into my head: less is more. I would be ready. I put on my pre-arranged clothing before school, then spent almost 10 minutes putting on lip gloss, eyeliner, and eyeshadow. Is there a point to this? I muttered, glancing at my reflection. I hadn't changed my appearance, except now my face looked more colorful. I grabbed my bag of school things and hurried downstairs. Does it look right? I asked. Christine put the milk on the table with 2 boxes of cereal. Yeah, you did a good job, not too strong. She cocked her head. Why? There a boy you're hoping to see? I stared at her. How did you know? She laughed. Oh, girls always know. We all act the same way when we like someone. I sat down and poured my milk. I like him, but mostly I'm worried about him. Care to share why? No, it's complicated. Ow. Christine turned back to the kitchen. I get complicated. We left a few minutes later, and I was startled to realize the morning was warmer than it had been when I'd left. Is it warm? I asked, wondering if it was just me. It's getting warmer. Mornings are still cool, but the days will be getting nicer. When will it get hot? We start hitting the pools in late March, early April. That didn't answer my question. I wouldn't be hitting any pools. Water was off limits. Christine dropped me off in front of the school, and I moved toward the big doors, wishing I'd worn a sweater over my blouse. It was chilly enough to feel the cold. A locker slammed near me when I stepped inside, and I jumped. Well, look who's back. Shasta stepped toward me, her eyes narrowing and her lips curling upward. It's Target Girl, who also happens to be a foster child. Her friends flanked her, crossing their arms over their chests and glaring at me. I suppose you think that means I should feel sorry for you and be nice to you? A tempter whisked into view, flying around her, looking from her to me as if gauging who was the prey. You have an evil spirit about you, I told her. Masonable. Her face went purple with rage. The tempter dove in with both hands, feeding off her anger, sounds of satisfaction emanating from its incorporeal body. She lifted her hand and slapped me. I felt nothing, though my head spun in response. The resounding noise of her hand on my face echoed through the hallway. Voices stopped and bodies turned toward the commotion. My anger flared, mostly at the disrespect she showed me. The tempter looked up from her. Its features were visible now. A woman, from the looks of it, though her nose and cheeks still dripped downward without form. She focused on me, as if smelling an opportunity. I would not give her one. I turned around and walked away. Come back here. I'm not done talking to you. I ignored her. You okay there, Jessica? I looked over to see big hulking Mason crossing to my side. I'm fine. She's inconsequential. Mason laughed. I like that. Someone like Shasta being inconsequential. He held his fist out to me. I knew he expected me to do something, but I had no idea what, so I patted it. Another girl came to my side, a tiny waif of a thing. I never thanked you for helping me a few weeks ago, you know, she said, and I recognized her as the girl Shasta had bullied my first day. Is she still messing with you? I asked. long as I keep my distance. Good. Be mindful of other students, Barakael had said. I could do that. I wasn't sure how to help them, but I would try. Chapter 23. Logan looked up at me when I came in, a small flicker of surprise crossing his features. He bobbed his head in greeting and turned back to his phone. That was it? I had expected more. I said, settling down beside him. How's it going? All right, how about yourself? You've been gone a while. Long. A few weeks, I guess. I went to my mom's. I did schooling over there. Nice. Wish I could get out of this hellhole. Mr. King started the lesson and I opened my laptop, following along. Malik had told me a few things about Logan's family, but I didn't remember now. You live with your dad? Technically. He wasn't engaged in the conversation, much more interested in the game on his phone. I put a hand out and covered the phone, then lowered it to his lap. He finally looked at me. I saw his eyes take me in for the first time, and apparently the clothing and makeup did the trick. He shifted to face me, giving me his full attention. What does technically mean? I asked. We live in the same house, but we never see each other. He's always gone on trips, and when he's around, he's always pushing me, always telling me how I'm not measuring up. Do you tell him you want to see him? He snorted. I didn't say I want to see him. I could care less. He's just who I'm stuck with. Kind of like you, didn't get lucky in the parental department. I removed my hand from his phone and leaned back, confident I had his attention now. Mr. King was going on at the board with his back to us and hadn't noticed our private conversation, or, for that matter, the private conversations of the other students. And to your mom? Don't have one. The response was flat and left no room for questions, but my mind pricked with them. He hadn't said dead or divorced, just that he didn't have one. I listened to Mr. King while piecing together what Logan said. What about money? Everyone needs money, right? Oh, we have that. My dad comes from old money. He inherited a large company and just lives off the interest. Will you have a job with him one day? I'm set to inherit the company if I ever measure up. He was talking a lot, which encouraged me I might be able to get through to him. What does your dad expect of you? Come on, he rolled his eyes. You know. All that, I had no clue. Nothing I do is good enough, so why try? I'll just be me. My eyes went wide. Logan, that's not good. You can't just quit trying. Why not? I'll be rich no matter what I do. But you want to be a better parent than your dad is. A different color flared across his aura, a grayish green, and red followed on the heels of it. He stiffened, and I worried I'd offended him. Just as quickly, it died down, a softer blue taking its place. I'm not having kids, so it won't matter. How far could I pursue this line? I didn't want to push him and make him close up. I had some time. I'd pick this up again later. How close are you and Dee Dee? I asked, since that was my next area of concern. We're pretty good friends, he said, and the green flared again, brighter this time. But she's not my girlfriend, if that's what you're asking. Just a friend with benefits. Oh, that's good. I didn't know what that meant, but at least they were only friends. Had I imagined the lust rolling off him last time I'd seen them together? Had I misinterpreted it? Mr. King turned around as if just realizing he didn't command the attention of his class. The next people I catch talking will have a week's worth of detention. Logan slid lower in his seat and shook his head. You don't want that, he whispered to me. I nodded in agreement. We finished up our class time without any more distracting conversations to get us in trouble. I walked with Logan as we left the class, keeping an eye out for Alexander or any Tim Terry. I saw plenty skulking around the school, but Logan's mood seemed elevated, and he didn't draw any of them to him. Well, it was good to see you, he said when we reached the fork in the hallway. Yeah, I said. Oh, hey, I got my number for you. He smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling. Finally remembered me, huh? Oh, no, I said, scribbling it down on a piece of paper. I thought of you the whole time I was gone. I handed him the paper only to find him scrutinizing me. You did? He took the slip of paper. Yes. He considered that and nodded. See you at lunch? Most of my teachers ignored me. My extended absence, coupled with the fabricated story of my background, made them write me off as someone who wouldn't do much or get far. Not that I cared. I read through the textbooks and gleaned as much information as I could. My classes at the academy were meant to build upon the foundation of any earth knowledge, which left me at an extreme disadvantage. I wanted to learn all I could to catch up with my peers. The small television in the room flicked to life at the end of second period. I looked up from my laptop and watched the announcements about social happenings. The boy and girl on the screen played the part of reporters in training, though with much less enthusiasm. And as a reminder, the spring formal will be the second weekend of April, the girl said, eyes casting down to check a paper on her desk. That's the weekend before Easter. And the third weekend after spring break, the boy cut in. His hair had been styled into a wave, and he stared into the camera with a broad smile. For those of you who don't celebrate Easter, the third weekend after spring break, the girl said, casting him a glare before returning to her paper. Tickets go on sale next week. You can buy them in the office. I wrote the words, spring formal, in the margins of my paper. I didn't know this term. I'd have to ask around to find out what it meant. Class ended, and I headed out the door to the cafeteria. I kept my eyes peeled for opportunities to help other humans, of which there was no shortage. The tempter slithered around the teens, wrapping around their hands while they messed with their phones, eyes down in a sea of people. They sat on their necks like a demented scarf, digging their fingers through their hair and weighing them down. Who should I help? And how? I desperately needed a dagger. It's your own fault, I reminded myself. I spotted a girl by herself on a bench. Her aura emanated darkness from the first level to the third. Beside her sat a man, his arm wrapped around her shoulders, his mouth open in a weird sort of grimace. I took another 2 steps before I realized what I was seeing. He wasn't a man. He was a temptere, and he'd fed off her so much he was almost solid. Where was her guardian angel, or had she reached the point where they couldn't help her? Could I? I moved her direction without thinking about it. Can I sit here? I asked her. She looked at me and shrugged. It wasn't permission, it was more that she didn't care. The feelings rolling off her were too strong for her to contain. I sat on the opposite side of the temptero, not wanting to put myself in his path. He ignored me, satisfied with the nourishment he got from her unhappiness. And her despair, sadness, and defeat. Why are you so sad? I asked. She focused her deep blue eyes on me, but without any real interest. I don't know you, and you don't care. She wanted someone to care, but she felt it was too late. If the blackness to her aura was any indication, it almost was. Take her hand, I told myself. Show compassion, intimacy. It was the most unnatural thing for me to do, and it took all my willpower, but I did, reaching out and clasping her fingers. I do care. More people care than you realize. She narrowed her eyes at me and tried to pull her hand free. She was getting angry now, and that was not what I'd intended. I held on tighter, trying to send some of my positive energy back into her through our connection. She succeeded in freeing her hand, but her expression wasn't quite as defiant. And the temptar had noticed me. He rolled his head around her and sniffed with his large, blurry nose. His intangible eyes trembled and swam around, trying to lock in on me. Who are you? She asked me. And Jessica. I tried to focus on her, but I couldn't take my eyes off the temptari. I'm new here. I'd like to help you, if I can. Everyone wants to help me. She stood up and shouldered her backpack, the despair undulating off her in waves again. No one can. The temptar latched onto her as she walked away, clinging to her like a koala bear, sucking up her light, and I ached inside. How do I help people? I thought heavenward, investing in a pseudo-prayer. What difference can I make if people don't listen? I wished Malik were here. I would ask him. CD.
Jessica, you're back, Dee Dee said when I sat down at the table with my candy bar and soda. We missed you so much. She smiled at me, but her aura flared deep green, and I knew she wasn't being honest. Thanks, I said, not bringing up her deceit, but wondering nonetheless. What reason did she have to dislike my presence?
Your lunch doesn't look so healthy, Sophia, the other girl in the group, said, her dark hair teased to a perfect globe around her head. Maybe not, but I like chocolate. My fake physical body didn't need nutrients anyway, which meant I could eat whatever pleased me. Didi murmured something to Sophia and they both snickered, their auras spiked with shades of brown and green. Not that their good opinion mattered to me. I faced the boys, who I found to be friendlier than the girls. "What's the spring formal?" I asked. They stopped eating to cast me curious looks. "You're asking what it is?" Jacob asked. "Really?" Didi scoffed. "Is that how you're going to play this?" She shook her head at me. "You can just admit you're looking for a date." "A date," I echoed, not having to pretend at confusion. "A date is an appointed time on the calendar." And then something clicked from the fiction novels I'd read. "You mean like a meeting?" "Geez, you're so weird," Didi mumbled. But Henry, Logan's other friend, laughed. "I think she doesn't know." He grinned at me, and the smile wasn't completely friendly. "He was homeschooled," Logan said. "You have to cut her a break." "She's also never been on a date," Sophia said, speaking into her soda can as if that might lessen the insult. "She's probably never kissed a guy either," Jacob said, studying me with open curiosity. As if summoned by an invisible force, the smoky form of a temptar appeared, curving around Jacob and sliding its hands into his shirt, as if it thought it could become Jacob if it got close enough. "To tell you what, I'll take you on a date," Jacob said to me, his eyes darkening. "Then you'll know what it's all about." "No think," I said, unnerved by the change in his demeanor. "People can't go to the spring formal without a date," Logan said. I nodded, though I still didn't know what the spring formal was. "Your first date should be with someone you trust," Henry said. Why did I feel like I needed my own guardian? These teenage waters felt unsure and dangerous. I wasn't sure how to pilot through them.
Sophia rolled her eyes. "So not any one of these guys."
"I'm totally trustworthy," Henry said, pretending to look offended. Jacob snorted. "Right. It's a lot easier if you skip the dating and just hang out with your friends," Logan said. And that is your problem," Didi said, turning her eyes to him. "If you want to keep a girl in the friend zone, keep inviting her to group functions." "And burn," Henry said. The bell rang to signify the end of lunchtime, and I stood up when Logan did, ready to follow him out. But Didi called my name. "Jessica, wait for me." It was the first time she'd addressed me, and I paused, curious. She threw away her trash and then joined me at the table. "Which way are you going?" "Matt," I said. "The bane of existence," she said. She pushed her lips upward into a cheerful smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "So you want a date to the spring formal? Is it important?" She nodded her head. "Very important. Everyone will be there, but don't stress it. I can help you find one. In fact, leave it to me. I'll make sure you get a date with someone who will treat you nice." She flashed a smile again, but her lip twisted at the end. She seemed to be waiting for me to say something, and I reminded myself to pay attention to social cues. I nodded. "Okay, great." Turning away, I headed to math class by myself, befuddled by the entire encounter. I waited inside the doors after school for Christine to pull up, watching students as they walked by. "Hi," I said to a boy with a temptare poking out of his backpack. "Hi," he replied, and the temptare pulled his head back inside. I wondered what the boy kept in there. Another girl walked by with a tiny squirrel on her shoulder. Her third-level aura seemed to be in flux, sending out shoots of energy 5 feet away. She paused to change books at her locker, and I tiptoed closer, my eyes on the squirrel. "You can see me," the squirrel said. I gave a little yelp and stepped backward, bumping into several students on their way out the door. "Oh crap, I must be on the wrong plane. I'm so bad at that." The squirrel leaned forward, examining me. What are you? You have black wings, so you must be a first or second year. What are you doing here? Am I on the wrong plane, or are you?" I wasn't sure what to say. "I'm an angel. What are you?" The girl turned around, her expression confused when it landed on me. "Are you talking to me?" Of course I wasn't, but obviously I was, since there was no one else around. The squirrel laughed. "They can hear you also. What are you doing on Earth if you're an angel? What campus are you from?" I was beyond confused and focused on the mortal girl, trying not to stare at the little critter on her shoulder. Yes. Hi. I'm Jessica. She furrowed her brows. I thought you said your name is Angel. No. I shook my head. You thought her name was Angel, the squirrel suggested to me. I ran with the idea. I mistook you for my friend, Angel. Sorry. The little squirrel gave a flying leap and landed on my shoulder. I squealed and batted at my shoulders. Nice to meet you, the girl said in a dubious tone, not introducing herself to me as she let herself out of the school. I'll still stop moving, the squirrel said. It scampered to my other shoulder, and little pinpricks of scathing heat followed each step. Then it spread its arms and leaped again. Before it landed on the ground, however, the squirrel had transformed into an angel. She stood before me with long, white blonde hair, flashing blue eyes, and white wings stretched out behind her. "Lines," I gasped out. "Let's take it outside," she said. "People are staring." I glanced around to see she was right. Best to shut down this scene, even if I risked running into Shasta. The angel strolled outside, her hands in the pockets of her navy slacks. She sat down on a bench, and I settled beside her. Now I knew why her feet had hurt me. "So," she said, turning her vibrant eyes on me, "you've never seen a metamorphosa before?" "No," I stammered. "I mean, yes, but not here." Her eyes honed in on my clothing. "What academy do you go to?" "Guardian Angel Academy." She rolled her eyes. "Naturally. At which campus?" "I'm at Yushuv," I said. My mind whirled, making sense of her words. Malik told me there were guardians here from other campuses, but he said we wouldn't see them. I didn't expect. "But what are you?" She leaned forward, and I caught a glimpse of the academy symbol on her sweater, like ours but electric blue instead of gold. "You're not a guardian. You don't have white wings. What are you doing here? And who's Malik?" There were far too many questions for me to answer. I saw Christine's car and stood up, glad for the rescue. "My mom's here. I've got to go."
Your mom? She stood also, following my gaze. How can you have a mom?
"I have a special assignment here." "I'm intrigued." "Well, I have to get back to my own assignment, but I'll be on the watch for you, though you might not see me, if I manage to get on the right plane." I nodded, glad I'd escaped further interrogation. But another part of me also felt a sense of relief. I wasn't alone here. I glanced back to see she'd shifted into the squirrel again and was scampering across the lawn. What must that be like?